What's up, guys? Handlebar Mike here. It's been a long time, but I figured I'd throw on the camera. I have to strip down this carburetor here and do some cleaning on it. I'm going to be using this Chem Dip carburetor cleaner. It's some nasty stuff with a basket inside. Strip it all down, put all that crap in it, let it sit overnight, and then put it back together and have a brand new carburetor in the next day. This is from my son's Chinese scooter. It's a Chinese carburetor for a GY6. This is a 50cc that we actually upgraded to like 88cc. We did a big bore kit on it. I am smoking a Dagner Cobb with some velvet, because why not? So that's that. Let me get the Chem Dip open, I guess. Throwing stuff ready. That's awesome. So like I said, this is some nasty chemicals. There's actually a brand new one. I had to buy a new one. My old one has given up the ghost. So I bought some new shit. And like I said, some nasty chemicals with a little basket thing inside. There's a little basket thing. I don't know if you guys can see that. But a little basket inside for you to put your little parts in. And just let them soak and clean. Alright, so I'm going to strip down this carburetor with you guys. We'll talk about a little bit about carburetors. If you don't know how carburetors work, maybe you'll learn something. Maybe you won't. Alright, so this is a larger carburetor. This is actually more the size for like a 150 GY6. But because we did the big bore kit on his 50cc, brought it up to 88cc, went with a bigger carburetor to get more air and fuel in there to appease the larger. It's like the original piston was like this big, the new piston was like that big. But we'll take it apart and yeah. So I'm going to be using just a Phillips head screwdriver. This is actually not just a standard Phillips head screwdriver. This is a GY6 screwdriver, which is a Japanese industrial standard. Standard Phillips head screwdrivers do have a different pitch to them. I work on quite a few older Japanese motorcycles. I have a 76 CB750. I have a 86 Goldwing that I just acquired not that long ago. I have a Yamaha. And one of the things you'll always see is those Phillips head screws stripped out, because standard Phillips head screwdrivers have a different pitch to the tips on them. So one of the best investments I ever made was buying a set of GY6 Japanese industrial standard screwdrivers, and they work great. I use them for everything, even when they're non-GIS screws. This is Chinese, so they're probably not GIS, but these are notorious for being super soft. So having a good proper fitting screwdriver is super important when you're doing any of these Japanese or any of these Chinese carburetors or anything really. I also have a little pair of pliers to get some hose clamps off, and then I have a 13mm wrench. This is actually to go on the back of my screwdriver in case I need additional leverage to get things off. That's what that little nubby nub on the back of that's for. Alright, I love that feature. Works out good. Alright, so let's start taking some hoses off. So this right here is just a vacuum hose. It goes to a T, and two other vacuum lines come off. This goes to a diaphragm. There's actually a rubber diaphragm in there. You don't want to put any kind of rubber parts, any seals or rubber parts or anything in your Chem Dip, because it will just straight up destroy them. So, so we're going to take all of those out. So let's fiddle around with this little hose clamp and see if we can't get this off. Flathead screwdriver works well. There we go. Pop that off. The rest of this will come off when we take the top off. There's actually another diaphragm in there as well. This is a constant velocity CV carburetor, which means inside there you can see the this little cylinder. It's actually actuated based on manifold vacuum, and there's a diaphragm in the top here that you'll see. It's a rubber piece, and as more vacuum is drawn, it actually lifts up, which pulls up that plunger in the middle there, which has your needle which goes to your primary jet, and it allows more fuel in. And you'll see that as we get into it a little bit more. All right, so we have that off. Let's talk about this guy here on the side. So this carburetor does not have a standard style choke. This is an electronic actuator that acts as your startup system. So basically, when you first turn on the bike, this gets an electronic signal, which opens up a valve in here, which allows more at a higher RPM until your engine warms up. A standard choke on most bikes or most carbureted engines, a standard choke, what it does is actually blocks or restricts the amount of air that comes in, which provides a richer fuel mixture for those cold starts. But with this, it actually injects more or allows more fuel in and the same amount of air in. So that's what this thing is, this contraption. So we're going to take that off because that is not going to go in there either, and we might as well start there. So like I said, these screws are notoriously soft. So you want to make sure you have a good fitting screwdriver, a lot of downward force as you're turning this way. You don't strip them out. All right. I'm sure you could probably replace these with something better, but we are not going to. All right, so this is where the wrench would come into play. So this just gives me more leverage, so I can push down and turn and have more leverage to break these free. A lot of these screws have never come off of this carburetor, so this is the first time you're cracking into them. Sometimes they're a little bit tight from the factory. All right, so that is our additional starting valve. Okay, and like I said, it kind of replaces what a traditional choke would do. And it instead of blocking airflow to richen up the mixture, what it does is actually injects more fuel into the system. All right, so we're going to take out these little O-rings here. We should have a pick, but we'll try to do it like that. You can see the little O-ring configuration there. All right, so that comes off. You probably take that off right through there, sure. All right, and I'm gonna get a little dish to put things in. And I'm gonna take a puff on my pipe because the damn thing's probably out by now. All right, so just throw a little thingy in there and a thingy in there. All right. So what else do we see on this carburetor? This right here is where your throttle cable will come through. Actually, it's the throttle here when you twist the throttle on your handlebars. So this just blocks that off. We can take that off because that's not going to go in anything. And just strip it all down. This one I have changed. I actually, because it is a larger carburetor on a smaller engine, we didn't change out the throttle cable to a longer throttle cable, so we had to do a little rigging on that. So the brand on this is Ting Tong. It's the Ting Tong carburetor. Sure. Ting Tong? Sure. We'll go with that. All right. This is your idle speed screw, and basically what you can see, all it does is it screws in to increase your RPMs at idle, and what it does is just opens your throttle more. All right. This carb is an adjustable carb, which means on the side here we do have a adjustment screw for the air fuel mixture. So if we take that out, it's like the only flathead on here. You can take a look at what that looks like. And it's usually like a pointy thingy-mabobber, which just basically blocks off a passage. There you go. All right, so that's what that looks like. And that you screw it in to reduce the amount of fuel. You screw it out to richen the mixture. More fuel is rich, less fuel is lean. So you screw it out to richen the mixture, allow more gas to come in. Screw it in to lean the mixture out, and allow less fuel. So that's really the only adjustment point on this carburetor. And there was a little spring in there that just popped out. So it's a pretty simplistic carburetor as carburetors go. Let's take this guy off and get that diaphragm out of there. The almost like, I don't know if you want to call it, it's vacuum actuated. So again, as vacuum increases, it will allow more. That's allows things to open up because you need more gas as your RPMs go up. There's a spring behind this, rather strong spring as well. There we go. Alright, so we take those off. There's the cap, there's the spring, and here is the little diaphragm. Okay, and these, if your bike sits for a while, especially if you have ethanol gas is the destroyer of especially cheap rubber parts or older rubber parts that were not meant for ethanol style gas. This bike sat for a long time with fuel in it, some ethanol. It was premium, but there's still ethanol in it, so it gets real gummy. Ethanol is a real gummy stuff after it dries out and whatnot. So you should inspect all the rubber parts. These I think are going to be all pretty good. I did get it running. It was running. It just wasn't running great. So that's why I'm stripping it down. All right. So let's take the bowl off. This is called your float bowl down here on the bottom. Okay, and it has some gas in it. That's great. This is where the fuel actually comes in here into this port right here. So your gas tank. This scooter actually does have a small fuel pump. It is a vacuum operated fuel pump. So when the engine starts, it pumps gas, and the gas would come into this inlet, and it fills up this bottom section, which is known as your bowl. Inside here, we will see the float. We will see the needle valve, which meters how much gas is in here. If you ever have a carburetor that when the gas is turned on, like especially with motorcycles when you're dealing with your the petcock switch, that have gravity-fed gas tanks. If you ever have overflow through an overflow tube or gas is pouring in and out of the carburetor, it is your float. Your float is usually stuck or not adjusted right, or the needle valve and seat is not good, so it's not closing off the supply of gas. One of the tricks is you can just tap, 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 see if that frees up your float inside, but you should take it apart and clean it and do the good things. This is a drain. All right, and a screw to actually drain the bowl. So if this was on the bike and I wanted to do some work on it and I wanted to remove the gas from it, or if I was putting it like my son should have done, in storage, you should have drained this out. You open that up, there's a hose that goes here, and you can drain it out while this is on the bike very, very easily. So we can take that out as well, just to show it to you. But it's just a screw that blocks off that passage. Alright, so again, it's going to be kind of a blunt, needly type end to it. Alright, and like I said, that's just an overflow or a drain. And we can take the 4 screws off on the bowl. It's dripping some gas. Shit! So I don't know how long I've been talking and not recording. Camera overheated. And I thought it was still recording. No. Fuck it. So I guess you ain't learning shit about carburetors because most of it's apart already. I was explaining jets. We have a main jet, which is the taller one, and a slow jet, which is the lower one. And those are what meter how much gas comes in to your carburetor. And there's different sizes, so there would be different holes. Let me go smaller. Screwdriver here. There's different size holes in the middle of them that allow more or less gas to come in. So this one that I'm taking out here is what we call your slow jet. The slow jet is for when you are at your throttle is closed, and it allows a certain amount of metered fuel to come up and enter the carburetor and the airstream. As you open your throttle, then it'll actually start taking fuel from both the slow jet as well as the main jet, and the main jet is metered inside, which again we'll see maybe if the camera holds out. We'll see. All right, so we are going to take that out. That's going to go in the dip, because we do want to clean. We do want to clean the jets real well, because that's probably what has some clogging going on. So we'll take out the main jet. And these are brass. So you do want to, typically they're brass, so you do want to, camera went out again. You do want to have a well-fitting screwdriver because they are brass, but they're just little holes. Little hole. Doo-doo-doo. 1, 2. Buckle my shoe. Alright. You could also take out, this is known as the emulsion. Alright, I'm going to keep fighting with this. Maybe I'll do another video on a different carburetor some other time. Keep smoking. Enjoy yourselves. I'll see you guys.